Hello, it's Stuart, the Unrepentant Atheist. Thank you for tuning into my channel. So we hear a lot from Christians about the historicity of Jesus, of the events portrayed in the Gospels, of the crucifixion, and of the resurrection. We hear about how much historical evidence there is for the life of Jesus, the crucifixion of Jesus, and indeed the resurrection. So what I've done is I've found a story which interested me a lot, concerned with history, where we can actually see real historical evidence that historians can actually start to draw tentative conclusions from. And I want to compare and contrast with the kind of evidence that is purported to support the events depicted in the Gospels. So it's we're going back to Anglo-Saxon times. We're going back to England and the year 870. So King Alfred, Alfred the Great, which I'm sure a lot of you know about. For those of you who don't, he was known as the Great because he united various English tribes and kingdoms in order to repel Viking invasions. Eventually it resulted in effectively England being split into a system known as a Danelaw, in which the English took the southern half of the country and the Vikings, more or less, it's kind of diagonal division, and the Vikings more or less took the north. So this brought peace. Now the Anglo-Saxon chroniclers, who are responsible for a lot of the knowledge that we've got about that time in history, happened to mention a particular king, an Anglo-Saxon king of Mercia. Now in those days, of course, the English kingdom was divided into, it's not like we've got the counties today. We had Wessex in the south, and Alfred was the king of Wessex. And the Midlands area, which stretched all the way from more or less, I think it's South Yorkshire, all the way down to the Cotswolds and Salisbury Plain, was called Mercia. Now Mercia was controlled by Cynewulf II. And the way it's been told in history is that Cynewulf was like a sort of minor power in those days, almost like a sort of puppet king who was really being controlled by the Vikings. However, we've got some evidence which has changed that way of thinking. And I put it like this because quite often we hear, not only from Christians, but we hear it from conspiracy theorists and evolution deniers, etc., that history or science is being suppressed to support existing interests and knowledge, and nobody really wants that to change because there's too much money involved. So this is an example of how that is really not the case. So it was thought that Cynewulf and Alfred were not terribly close in terms of being allied. They weren't quite enemies, but there was no suggestion hitherto that there had been any kind of proper alliance between them. But there were some coins discovered in England, going back. I've got a BBC article here. I'll put a link to it. Yeah, so there were some coins discovered in 2015. It seems that a Viking buried 300 coins in a field, and these were found by 2 British metal detectors. Quite an exciting and significant find. Now, by law, what they should have done is declared the find, and the coins would have been valued at market rates, and they would have received the full value of the coins. That's how it works. Now, this hoard, they've said that if the men had done that, they would have actually come out both very wealthy. I'm not quite sure, but all 300 coins were not recovered. It seems that there were 44 coins, and they tried to sell the coins on the they took them to America hoping to get a better price. They did not inform the British authorities about this. They took them to a scholar, a serious collector in America, a professor, and they tried to sell him the coins, and he wanted some more information. It's very rare. Obviously, serious collector, rare coins come onto the market. They're going to want to know where they came from. Of course they are, because if they buy stolen coins, they could be repossessed and they'll get no compensation. So they asked about the coins. They were told that, you know, the coins, there's an Alfred penny, for example, and there's, he was suspicious straight away. He alerted the authorities. The men were arrested. The coins were taken. And I believe that they have both received prison terms and absolutely nothing for the hoard of coins which were in their possession. Now, that's sort of insignificant. I only mention that to sort of make the story more colourful. What is significant from a historical point of view is that I'm going to show the image of the coins now. Of course, I'm editing this video. I'm going to slip the image in. So, if you look at the coins, we've got one coin here basically, and we've got two sides of the same coin. On the left, we can see quite clearly, and this is amazing to see, the name Alfred. You can see it. You can see that the name Alfred is there at the top of the coin, and there's a picture of Alfred the Great. And on the other side, we've got King Cynewulf II. So both kings on the same coin. Now the curator at the British Museum, he's the expert in coins. He has said that, he said that Cynewulf II was airbrushed out of history by Alfred's chroniclers, possibly to increase Alfred's prestige and make it look like he was the sole ruler. Okay, I don't know. I'm not a historian, and this is just a brief article. But Cynewulf was airbrushed out of history, and the curator is saying that, well, he's actually using quite strong language. He's saying that there was a prolonged alliance between, because more than one coin like this was discovered, there was a prolonged alliance between the two, and this is very strong evidence. Well, actually, he goes further than that. He's saying that it's virtually certain that this was the case. Now imagine if, before these coins were discovered, imagine if somebody put forward a proposition, a hypothesis, that Alfred's scribes had indeed airbrushed Cynewulf out, and that in reality he was more powerful than has been hitherto thought by historians, and that there was a conspiracy of silence, and that it was well known in the historical establishment that this was the case. These coins have been discovered and they have been brought to light. Scholars have hailed them as a remarkable discovery, and it has been embraced by the academic community. And the headline on the BBC article is Anglo-Saxon coins, illegally held hoard, rewrites English history. It's virtually been accepted as factual that this was the case, that there was this alliance. So there's no conspiracy of silence. When convincing evidence arrives, when proper historical evidence arrives, then's the time to believe these claims and these propositions. Christians say to us, what does it take? How can we convince you? I'll tell you how. By presenting evidence like this, like coins, like extra biblical documents that were written by people who had nothing to gain from promoting the Christian message. Real, proper historical evidence. And these coins are obviously very, very strong evidence. Coins have been fantastic evidence throughout history. We know so much about Roman history, Greek history, etc., and of course, indeed, Anglo-Saxon history. So that's my answer to Christians when they say to me, what we've got historical evidence. No, you haven't got historical evidence. You've got nothing like, you've got nothing remotely as convincing as these coins. Nothing at all. All you've got are theological documents that were written to recruit people into a religion. And if we're going to accept those as historical, then we've got to accept the Bhagavad Gita, we've got to accept the Quran. We've even got to accept the plates that Joseph Smith claimed that he'd been delivered by an angel. We've got to accept all of that nonsense. And none of it's properly historical. Theological documents are incredibly weak as historical evidence. You go into the universities, you go into the history departments, you won't see the New Testament anywhere. It's been sidelined, it's been pushed out of the way, it's been pushed into the departments of theology. That's where you'll find the New Testament studies. You won't find it in history departments in universities because it doesn't reach the standard to be considered history, because we haven't got anything remotely like these fantastic coins that have been discovered as historical artifacts. Okay, that's all I've got to say. So I've made my point. If you Christians want to be taken seriously on your claim, please don't show us the Gospels. Show us some real, proper, incontrovertible, virtually incontrovertible historical evidence of this quality. Thank you for watching. I'll be back again soon with another video. Bye for now.